Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go my review of King of the Ring 2002. Starting off the evening, we go to our first match of the night. It is RVD versus Chris Jericho in a King of the Ring semifinal matchup. Number one, this was a good matchup to start King of the Ring 2002. Back and forth matchup between RVD and Jericho, with RVD keeping the pace in the match. RVD then hits a leg drop on Jericho in the middle of the ring. Jericho then gets up, hits a spin kick on RVD. RVD then hits a somersault plancha on Jericho to the outside. Jericho then gets up, hits an enziguri on RVD in the middle of the ring. Jericho then hits a devastating release German suplex on RVD in the middle of the ring. RVD gets up, hits a split-legged moonsault on Jericho for a near fall. Jericho then lands a bulldog on RVD, and then Jericho hits a lionsault on RVD for a near fall. RVD then goes for a hurricanrana on Jericho, but Jericho counters it with the walls of Jericho, but RVD breaks the hold. RVD then hits his signature frog splash off the top rope on Jericho, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on to the King of the Ring finals is RVD. Hats off to RVD for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Test versus Brock Lesnar in a King of the Ring semifinal matchup. Number one, I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between Test and Brock Lesnar, with Lesnar keeping the pace of the match. Lesnar then hits a devastating spinebuster on Test in the middle of the ring, followed by a devastating spinebuster. Test then gets up, hits a sidewalk slam on Lesnar, as well as a full Nelson slam. Test then hits a pump handle slam on Lesnar for a near fall. Test then hits his signature big boot on Lesnar for a near fall. Heyman then attacks Test, which allows Lesnar to capitalize on that, hits the F5 on Test, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on to the King of the Ring finals is Brock Lesnar. Hats off to Brock Lesnar for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. It is Hurricane versus Jamie Noble. I thought this was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Hurricane and Noble, with Hurricane keeping the pace of the match. Hurricane then hits an enziguri on Noble. Noble then gets up, hits a devastating powerbomb on Hurricane, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and new WWE Cruiserweight Champion is Jamie Noble. Hats off to Jamie Noble for getting a win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Eddie Guerrero versus Ric Flair. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Guerrero and Flair, with Guerrero keeping the pace of the match. Eddie and Flair both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Flair hitting a devastating suplex on Eddie in the middle of the ring. Eddie gets up, applies a figure 4 leg lock on Ric Flair, but Flair breaks the hold. Eddie and Flair again both exchange in the middle of the ring. Benoit then makes his way down to the ring. Flair then applies a figure 4, but Eddie breaks the hold. Benoit then attacks Ric Flair ringside, applying a crossface. Referee ends up throwing Chris Benoit out of the match. Bully Ray is here. Referee doesn't see it. Bully Ray hits a bubble bomb on Eddie. Flair then goes for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Ric Flair. Hats off to Ric Flair for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's for the WWE Women's Championship. It is Molly Holly versus Trish Stratus. I thought this was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Molly and Trish, with Molly keeping the pace of the match. And Molly ultimately hits a roll-up on Trish, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, new Women's Champion, is Molly Holly. Hats off to Molly Holly for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Kurt Angle versus Hulk Hogan. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Angle and Hogan, with Hogan keeping the pace of the match. But Angle ultimately applies his signature ankle lock on Hogan, and your winner of the match by submission is Kurt Angle. Hats off to Kurt Angle for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the King of the Ring finals. It is RVD versus Brock Lesnar. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between RVD and Lesnar, with Lesnar keeping the pace of the match. Lesnar hits a devastating powerbomb on RVD. Lesnar then also hits a power slam on RVD that looked absolutely brutal. Lesnar then hits an F5 on RVD, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and the winner of the 2002 King of the Ring is Brock Lesnar. Hats off to Brock Lesnar for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of King of the Ring 2002. It is Triple H versus The Undertaker for the Undisputed Championship. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Triple H and Taker, with Taker keeping the pace of the match. Triple H and Undertaker both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Taker hitting a sidewalk slam on Triple H. The Rock is here. Rock then attacks Undertaker. Rock then goes to hit Undertaker with a chair, but missed and hit Triple H. Undertaker then hits a last ride on Triple H for a near fall. Taker then hits the referee. Rock then hits a rock bottom on the Undertaker. Triple H then hits his signature pedigree on Taker. Taker then somehow hits a low blow on Triple H. And Taker ultimately hits a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is The Undertaker. Hats off to The Undertaker for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to say about the King of the Ring 2002, man, before I get out of here. Number one, it was a solid King of the Ring. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. I mean, there was a lot of notable matchups on here. RVD versus Chris Jericho to start King of the Ring was a phenomenal matchup. And the fans seemed to gravitate towards RVD. And that match was awesome. Test versus Brock Lesnar. It was a solid matchup. And honestly, for what it's worth, Test really gave Brock Lesnar a run for his money in that matchup. Eddie Guerrero versus Ric Flair. That was a phenomenal matchup. And the way they were kind of building this matchup, it was like Ric Flair's last hurrah, if you will, even though it wasn't. But Eddie Guerrero gave Ric Flair a run for his money. But Ric Flair ultimately got the win with the help from Bully Ray. Kurt Angle versus Hulk Hogan, solid matchup. And as well as Triple H versus Undertaker in the main event for the Undisputed Championship. Solid match, man. But as far as a rating, I'm probably going to have to give King of the Ring 2002 a solid rating, probably of a 6, maybe 6.5 at best, man. So, King of the Ring, like I said, it was a decent event. But I'm going to have to give it probably a rating from 6, if not 6.5 at best, man. But this is my review of King of the Ring 2002. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.